The Trump administration announcing today that it's aiming to reform countries that claim developing status under the World Trade Organization. President Trump tweeting just moments ago, the WTO is broken when the world's richest countries claim to be developing countries to avoid WTO rules and get special treatment. No more. Today, I direct the U.S. Trade Representative to take action so that countries stop cheating the system at the expense of the USA. And, of course, the country he's talking about is China. Hey, a hard-fought battle ending in victory for President Trump and Nancy Pelosi. This as the House easily passes a budget compromise, but not everyone was on board. 132 Republicans, like my next guest, voted no. Congressman Chip Roy of Texas joins me now. All right, Congressman, you stuck to your guns. You voted no, but it went through anyway. So where do we go from here? Because you understand where the president was going. I think the political calculus and all this, as well as funding the military, but it means more debt and more deficits, right?
Well, that's unfortunately the case, Charles, where we've got $320 billion being piled up on top of caps that would have left us with trillion-dollar deficits. Only in the swamp is that somehow a good deal. And with all due respect to those who supported it, I'm proud to have been with my colleagues who voted no on this swampy spending deal. We are racking up $100 million of debt per hour. To put that in context, when Ronald Reagan gave his famous Time for Choosing speech in 1964, he was lamenting $17 million of annual deficit spending. That's $140 million a year in today's dollars. As I said, we rack up $100 million of debt per hour. It is unconscionable, and I can tell you, I represent Fort Sam Houston. I represent the Army Futures Command. I have 90,000 veterans in my district. Not one of them have ever asked me to mortgage the future of this country for their children and grandchildren on their backs in the name of making sure our men and women in uniform have the tools they need, which I support. We should not use that as an excuse to rack up debt that will endanger our national security in the future. It's penny wise and pound foolish for the future of the United States of America.
To that note, though, ultimately, we need some really radical reform for the most expensive inputs there. And, they call it in your neck of the woods in D.C., the political third rail. So it's one thing to vote against this gargantuan bill. It's another thing to say, is it a political will to take on these third rail issues?
Well, you know, a lot of my Republican colleagues like to hide behind mandatory spending as an excuse to continue to rack it up, and rack up discretionary spending, defense and non-defense. I think that's a mistake. You're right. We do need to address mandatory spending. I'm happy to talk about that. I didn't run away from that when I ran last year. I'm not running away from it now. Happy to have those conversations about ages and how we set and deal with Medicare and Social Security. No American wants to bankrupt this country for their kids or grandkids. We need to stop pretending that there's a third rail, and we need to get busy doing our job in addressing it. But you know what's... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Congressman, you don't run away from anything. You didn't even run away from D.C. All of your fellow congressmen, they've already got on the Hawaiian shirts. They've got the drink with the straw in it already. What's the deal? Because you actually demanded to Pelosi that she somehow call everyone back. But is that realistic? Obviously, it won't happen this time around.
Well, I was happy that around 40 of my colleagues, I've lost count because people keep adding to the letter, have asked Speaker Pelosi for us not to adjourn. Now, of course, she's ignored us and she's adjourned and everybody's gone home. They're going to their fundraisers and their vacations. And I'm here in Washington here on Friday. I think we ought to be here. I think we ought to be meeting. Why? Because we are not funding ICE. We're not doing our job to secure the border. We're leaving our Texas communities and this nation endangered. We're empowering cartels who have operational control of our border. She knows it. She doesn't care. She wants to use kids as political props. She doesn't want to do what is necessary to secure the border. This is why this Congress has been a total train wreck and a disaster, and why I know the American people are going to send Democrats home in 2020. They are utterly failing to do their job. I'm happy to be here. My colleagues are happy to be here. She should pull us back in, and we should do our job.
Hey, by the way, I lived in Fort Sam 3 times. My dad taught medics there. My youngest brother was born there. Congressman
God
Roy,
bless.
thank you very much. We'll see you again real soon.